This is the WrestleBread Podcast, bringing you the latest news, recaps, and analysis of AEW and WWE. Get the unique perspective from a wrestling fan of over 25 years. Here's your host, Jaydee.
What's going on, guys? This is Jaydee, and this is episode 115 of the WrestleBread Podcast. So, if you followed me on Twitter, you probably already know that this episode was not live. My mother had called me very shortly before I was about to start recording, and me and her was talking about some plans that was coming up and stuff like that. So I knew as soon as I got off the phone with her and, you know, she started talking and everything, I kind of figured it had been a long conversation. And so next time, we will be back to recording live. I'm also going to be doing a special episode in celebration of the Great American Bash. Just talking about past matches that had came before, the best matches from the Great American Bash as well. So this week we had Hell in a Cell, which really wasn't too bad. I have some pet peeves with WWE pay-per-views, with the finishes and especially with the gimmick pay-per-views as well, that I'll get into in a little bit. But we have news that came out very recent. WWE had released more people. So I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who is wondering what is going on with WWE. Normally, WWE has, you know, a list of people who are getting released around this time after WrestleMania, but we are going through cycle number 3 now. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I do not remember 3 cycles of releases. So I don't know if this is a situation with Samoa Joe where people are getting released and then get re-signed to NXT for lesser money. But as I'm looking at this list, this is now the NXT/205 Live people who got released. So starting out, the biggest names that got released is Fandango and Tyler Breeze. I'm a little shocked at Tyler Breeze because he is such a pinnacle point in the in Xavier Woods' YouTube channel, Up Up Down Down. They have the Battle of the Brands. They're part of a group called The Party with Breeze, Cesaro, Xavier Woods, and Adam Cole. So I don't know what is now going to happen from that. Him and Xavier Woods are pretty good friends. But now there is no longer Breezango. The people are reminiscing on the Fashion Files, and the Fashion Files haven't been on TV in like years. So it's sad to see people get released like that, and you never want to see people get released. Of course, now people are wondering, oh, is this person going to go to AEW or Ring of Honor or Impact or something like that? I hope that, you know, all these people who got released find success. We've seen it plenty of times before. We've seen it with Drew McIntyre. People who get released go off to other promotions, get better in that promotion, and then come back as a main event wrestler. So this can definitely happen with all these people who are getting released. The good thing that we are experiencing in today's wrestling world is that WWE is not the end. It's either a beginning or it's a step or something like that. Like I said, with Drew McIntyre, he got released, went to another promotion, came back, and is more popular than ever. We see people who got released from WWE who's finding better success in other promotions. So it's not the end of the world. I know that we had people who are very sad to leave WWE, but it's a lot better than what the option was back in the day, where it was either WWE or WCW or you're wrestling in a cafeteria somewhere. Another person got released, Killian Dane. So that he was part of the tag team with Drake Maverick, So I wonder what that is going to turn out to be. Davari, he was from 205 Live that got released. Marina Shafir, she hasn't been used on NXT TV. Her husband, Roderick Strong, just returned with Diamond Mine, which I'll get into as well. She got released. Everrise, which it seemed like they really didn't have much for them to do. They kind of just been popping up with some random stuff recently. Arturo Ruiz, which I feel like I should know who that is. The name sounds familiar. If I'm not mistaken, he is from NXT. I think he is in it. I think he was in NXT. But either way, he wasn't really used that often either. Another person got released, Tony Nese, and I remember seeing Tony Nese live for the first time, and this was before he even came to WWE. He was wrestling a match in House of Hardcore. That's how I came to know of him, and he was pretty cool when I saw him live. And so when he came to WWE, I was pretty happy for him that he was able to, get somewhere and be in front of a live crowd and stuff like that. He was on, I think he was on Raw for a little bit, and then he got knocked to 205 Live, which he has been. He appears sometimes in NXT, but he got released. The Bollywood Boys got released. Maybe they might get re-signed for the NXT India that WWE is trying to start up too. August Gray, which I don't know who that is. That may be someone from 205 Live. And then Kurt Stallion, which I had to look up too. He is part of 205 Live as well. So best of luck to these people. It sucks when people get released. But I hope that they know it's not the end of the world. But I am interested to see what is going to happen with Up, Up, Down, Down, with, Tyler Breeze no longer being on the roster. Some more news. A lot of people was up in arms about the segment between Alexa Bliss and Shayna Baszler. Apparently it came out that Shayna Baszler is quite happy to do the Lily storyline. She told Sports Illustrated that she wanted to show that she can be counted on to nail whatever it is that she's being asked to do. It's easy to be a badass tyrant like I was at NXT. I could totally fit that role. After establishing myself as that, it's important to show I can cover a wide range of what professional wrestling is today. So I'm, you're not gonna catch her, saying that she hates the segment or anything like that. So I'm not surprised that she would say something like that. Like I had said before, bless her, she definitely tried her best in the segment. Maybe she has told the story of how she's been, coming to Vince McMahon and trying to get herself on TV and get herself seen. And, like I always say, it's about dominance and being on TV. As of right now, she's on TV. She doesn't have the dominance part, which I wish we could see that more often. But, it is what it is, truthfully. A lot of people feel as though that was one of the worst segments in Raw history. Shayna Baszler did her best, to do this kind of horror type of segment, backstage segment. Who knows what is going to come from this with Alexa Bliss, especially with the doll. I don't know if that doll is going to turn into a real life person or something like that, or we're going to get like Sister Abigail, like the Firefly Funhouse type of situation with a puppet. Who knows? Also news, WWE and John Cena has reached a deal for him to return to WWE in July. The idea is that he'll wrestle a match at SummerSlam. So all the people who have been on Twitter constantly mentioning Roman Reigns versus John Cena. You got your wish. And now, hopefully, this is to have John Cena lose against Roman Reigns and not come back just to win a match. Because it would make no sense whatsoever if John Cena comes back to face Roman Reigns, the tribal chief, at SummerSlam, and then wins the match and then goes off to leave. I mean, it's kind of what they do with the part-timers and people who return. But I'm hoping that this is for Roman Reigns to win. Some other news. Tony Khan, of course, promoting AEW. He mentioned how Double or Nothing was better than WrestleMania. He said Double or Nothing last year and this year, in my opinion, was better show than WrestleMania. I like this year's WrestleMania a lot better than last year's because they had some fans this year and everyone there worked their ass off both years. This year they did a 2-night show and it was a good show. I thought Double or Nothing this year was outstanding and it was the best wrestling show of the year so far. And last year, Double or Nothing in the pandemic, it kicked the shit out of WrestleMania last year. The pandemic version last year, not even close. Double or Nothing, much better show. And he said this during an interview on Barstool Sports, Pardon My Take podcast. Am I surprised that Tony Khan is going to say something like this? No. Tony Khan is going to hype up AEW as much as he can. So for him to say that Double or Nothing is better than WrestleMania, that's his opinion. He is welcome to have that type of opinion. As far as like fan reaction, Double or Nothing definitely was better. Because the fans were very lively. They were popping. They popped for a lot of stuff. And with WrestleMania, it was definitely good to hear those fans, but it wasn't a pack house like it was with AEW Double or Nothing. So he definitely has something there. So getting into Hell in a Cell, I have an issue with Hell in a Cell. I don't like the fact that we're doing the gimmick pay-per-views because what's happening is that it's forcing writers to create these Hell in a Cell matches, which really doesn't fit the feud that is involved. For example, with I felt as though Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley could have been a Hell in a Cell. Here's the thing, too. Hell in a Cell has turned into basically a hardcore match without it actually being a hardcore match. Now, as far as with Roman Reigns and Rey Mysterio, while especially the spot where Roman Reigns threw Rey Mysterio into the cage like we were watching an episode of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. But what's happening is that we're getting like basically a glorified hardcore match. And the Hell in a Cell has always, especially when it first started, it's always been a very grueling, it takes a toll on the body, that type of stuff. Now, I'm not saying that, we should be looking for blood or someone get thrown off the top of the cage or something like that. But the Hell in a Cell comes with a reputation. People definitely remember Undertaker versus Mankind. As far as Hell in a Cell, you remember Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels. You can go down the list of Hell in a Cell matches that you remember that was just like, that was a Hell in a Cell match. It definitely belonged in the Hell in a Cell, stuff like that. What we got here is that, the cell gets used a little bit, but is basically a hardcore match. You don't really need the cell. The Hell in a Cell should be used as like, this is the final stop in this feud. Like, this feud has gotten so chaotic and so intense, and it's so many different factors or interferences or something like that. Like, no, I need to take you into this structure to break you down and beat you up. And here's an analogy that I'll give you as far as why, with Hell in a Cell. Now, with Hell in a Cell, like I said, you have the idea of you immediately go to Mankind versus The Undertaker as far as like the Hell in a Cell match. And now you see what we get here. Kind of like we have the new Halloween movie that is coming out this year. Imagine, you know how Halloween is. It's Michael Myers. He's going to slash people. We're going to get some jump scares and stuff like that. Imagine you go to the theater and during this movie in Halloween, Michael Myers is giving handshakes and he's pushing people down onto the ground. And maybe punch them in the face. Instead of slashing them and killing them in a gory way like he normally does, he just beats them up like a high school bully. Now, it's still Halloween. It's Michael Myers. He's beating up people. You can even say beat them to death. Okay, he's still killing people. But when you think of Halloween, you have a certain thing, you have a certain idea in mind. There's a certain picture you put to it, intensity, things fit, the name. So with Hell in a Cell, you think of it as, a very intense rivalry that, it's nothing else they can do but to finish this feud inside Hell in a Cell, where only one person is walking away. That's how I feel with that. Bianca and Bayley was a good match. It was a quick match. It didn't feel like it lasted that long. The match was for 19 minutes. So maybe I don't know. Maybe was tripping a little bit. But the match was back and forth. It was a good match. The chemistry between Bayley and Bianca Belair is really good. It's not as hard hitting as the WrestleMania match with Sasha and Bianca Belair. Now, if that feud had continued, if Sasha didn't have to go film for The Mandalorian and they continued with this feud and it got even more intense and it went further and further, this would have been a perfect feud to throw into the Hell in a Cell. I feel as though the Hell in a Cell isn't exactly needed for Bayley and Bianca Belair, because it was, the storyline is Bayley laughing at Bianca Belair. They could have definitely had done a last woman standing or something like that type of situation. Very unique offensive moves. The tying the hair to the ring ropes was very creative as well. But in the end, Bianca Belair, of course, retained her title. Next up, we have Seth Rollins versus Cesaro. This was a good match, first of all. I mean, Seth Rollins and Cesaro. So, of course, you would expect them to have a pretty good match. In the end, Seth Rollins won, which, we're doing this 50-50 thing that WWE loves to do. Every feud comes with at least 3 matches, a win each, and then it's the rubber match that comes as well. Cesaro looked awesome. I would have loved for Cesaro to have won in this match, especially the fact that he got injured, went away, and then he comes back. The typical babyface get injured type of storytelling that they do in WWE. But normally the babyface is the one who comes out with a victory. In this case, it was Seth Rollins because we have to do the 50-50. It seems like, from what we're continuing on is we're going to continue on with Cesaro and Seth Rollins, which is what we saw at SmackDown this week. It was a mixed tag team match between Cesaro and Bianca Belair versus Seth Rollins and Bayley. So we're going to continue this to Money in the Bank. However, we did see on SmackDown, Seth Rollins was challenging for the title from the Tribal Chief. So I don't know how we're going to fit Cesaro in here. My fear is that they're not going to know what to really do with Cesaro. And so it's just going to go back to square one again. However, this was a pretty good match. Love the fact that Cesaro is getting some time to shine. I feel as though he should have gotten his push well long ago. I definitely miss, him and Tyson Kidd when they were a tag team. Even when he was a tag team with Sheamus, he definitely shined. But now he is, doing his singles run. And I'm hoping that we will continue to have some type of momentum. After that, we had Alexa Bliss versus Shayna Baszler. And everyone can sit there now and moan and groan about this match. I don't know. It's, I don't know what we're doing, but, we're doing it. We all love the fact that Alexa Bliss was teaming up with The Fiend, and we just couldn't get enough of Alexa Bliss in her, twisted union and everything. But now here we are. We're on the other side of the grass, ladies and gentlemen, and the grass is a bit brown. I don't know what we're doing here. Really. I'm waiting for the, I'm waiting for the end so that I can see how things are making sense. Because now Alexa Bliss have gotten the Undertaker power. Because apparently, I'm just going to say my explanation of this is that Undertaker retired and he's giving out powers like government cheese. Now Alexa Bliss has the power to control people's minds, to possess them, which is an Undertaker trait, but it looks like Alexa Bliss now has that. So as Shayna Baszler and Alexa Bliss was fighting, Alexa Bliss was able to hypnotize Nia Jax, and Nia Jax went off and slapped the goodness gracious out of Reginald. And it reminded me of this YouTube video that I saw a while ago where it was like someone was getting attacked or something like that. I think it was, I forgot the name, but it was a YouTube video where someone took control of the victim and you see the hand shaking and they went and pimp slapped the person. It's exactly what happened here with Bliss, Nia Jax, and Reginald. But we got a win out of Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss, as far as her character work, she's awesome. You could tell she really loves being this gimmick. She is a horror fan, like I had said before in the previous episode. But I don't know. I don't know what we're doing here. Like, what's the end goal of this? Is this for Lily to suddenly become a person? Is this for Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax to break up or something like that? I'm not 100% sure of what we're doing here. Next up, we have Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens. And Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens always put on a good match anyway. Because the chemistry, like I always say, two friends or relatives 9 times out of 10 will have a good feud and a good match. And that's because you got the trust there and everything. You got the chemistry there and everything. Kevin Owens was still selling an injury that he suffered on Friday on SmackDown when he was facing Apollo Crews. So that played into it. But there was a Halua kick that they kept showing it over and over again, went straight into KO's face. Don't know how KO is able to be alive after that, because I would have just collapsed right there in the corner. But in the end, Sami Zayn got the win, which I was a bit surprised about. I really didn't expect Sami Zayn to get the win there. But, I guess we're going to continue on still with the conspiracy theories and everything like that. Who knows? After that, we had Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair for the women's championship match. WWE just love their no contests, their countouts, their disqualifications, their, when they don't want to declare a winner, they just say, screw it, let's just do a disqualification. My only thing is that, as many times we have seen people get thrown into the announce table or things like that, for some reason in this instance, it causes a disqualification because in the end, Rhea Ripley grabbed the table, the cover on the table, and hit Charlotte Flair with it. Now, this was a good match. Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair. First of all, Charlotte is very good at what she does, and since her return, like her look and things like that, and her in-ring ability has definitely gotten better. She did mention how Andrade has been helping her as far as with wrestling moves and stuff like that. So, definitely awesome. They, of course, like I said, didn't know what to do as far as the finish. I feel like we could probably get a no contest at Money in the Bank as well. And then this match lasts until SummerSlam before we actually figure out who is supposed to be winning this feud between the two. But I just do not get the finish. You could have came up with something better than that versus, she got hit with the table and it's disqualification. And then on Raw, they called out Sonya Deville and Adam Pearce called out Rhea Ripley to say, we know what you did yesterday and stuff like that. I'm like, as many times we have seen the table used, it used to be a ritual that the Spanish announce table has to be destroyed whenever you see it. Not even if it was a televised show or a pay-per-view. If the Spanish announce table was sitting in the middle of Broad Street here in Philly, that has to be destroyed. A body has to go through it and it has to be destroyed. So I really do not get the finish for this match as to why we had to get a disqualification that way. I'd rather for both women to do something on the outside, double count out type of situation. I would have felt a little better than that, but as far as with this, it felt like the decision of the finish was decided like as the women were coming out or something. Who knows? And finally, we got the main event, which was Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre. This was in the Hell in a Cell match. This was, the thing that everyone is talking about, of course, there was the shot where Drew McIntyre was chokeslammed from the apron onto the floor. He obviously had landed on a crash pad. But the thing that is so WWE is that there apparently was a troll, leprechaun, something was underneath the ring. We saw a hand push out a piece of a broken table out from underneath the ring. You would think in 2021 we would learn that, cuts, camera work, they're telling the person who's underneath the ring, hey, don't put your hand out there. You're live, pal. Like, come on. It just confuses me when we get situations like this. And then on top of that, the finish to this as well, this ended up in a roll-up, which I didn't get. And it felt like a slight glorified hardcore match. They had some things, they had some very creative offense in this match as well. But the roll up, but I guess, this is just simply to put more heat on Bobby Lashley, which, okay, I get, especially that it definitely was being played out the next night on Raw when Kofi Kingston came out to challenge Bobby Lashley for the title as well. This match lasted for 25 minutes. Like I said, a lot of back and forth between the two men. But, that finish, it is what it is. Now, Drew McIntyre cannot challenge for the title as long as Bobby Lashley is champion. But he is fighting for a spot in the Money in the Bank. So, don't know what happens if he wins the Money in the Bank. What will that mean? Does it mean that he can't cash it in until Bobby Lashley loses the belt or something? Who knows? So getting into Raw, like I had said, I don't watch Raw live like that anymore, but I do watch it back on Hulu. So there are some things that I may miss, some things that I won't miss. Oh, another thing too, like I said with the Bianca Belair and the Bayley match, a lot of creative offense with a lot of the weapons that they used as well. So kudos to the women to try to give it to give the Hell in a Cell a bit of a different flavor. I saw Ricochet versus AJ Styles. Ricochet and AJ Styles on paper should be a WrestleMania match. Unfortunately, with this being Raw, the main storyline with their match was with the Viking Raiders. I was about to call them War Machine. With the Viking Raiders, of course. So, we had some time with Ricochet and AJ Styles, but unfortunately, it wasn't a long match, and the concentration was on the feud between the Viking Raiders and Omos and AJ Styles. And then we had the opening segment where it was Bobby Lashley, MVP, and the women. First of all, one of them got some really strong ass sculpted legs. Like, whoa, ma'am. Like, I would love to know her workout regimen. But with the VIP lounge, I love the setup of that. First of all, but we had Kofi Kingston coming out. As far as we had Kofi Kingston coming out and mentioning that he is willing to challenge Bobby Lashley for the title. MVP is, trying to get into Kofi Kingston's head as far as, trying to separate him from Xavier Woods in the New Day, trying to get him a bit more serious. It kind of reminds me, if you ever listen to the New Day podcast, there was an idea that was thrown around from Kofi Kingston called Big Money Cove, where he is completely heel. I mean, he has the accent, of course, but he's completely heel and he has a lot of money. So I don't know if maybe that kind of caught on and, there is the thinking of turning Kofi Kingston heel, kind of similar to what has happened with Cedric Alexander and with Shelton Benjamin, of them joining her business and getting some type of success that way. Of course, we get to Eva Marie and Piper versus Asuka and Naomi. This was a qualifying match for the Money in the Bank. And I saw on Monday, people were very upset with the new name of Piper. And at first I was like, oh, wow, they really renamed her. Until I watched it and I'm like, wait a minute, this definitely isn't what people are making it out to be. You can clearly tell her name is Piper, but Eva Marie is the one who named her Dewdrop. And you can clearly tell this is going to be the storyline where Eva Marie is being used to put over Piper. You see Piper saying her name is Piper, and then Eva Marie called her Dewdrop. So they're definitely trying to use this whole underdog, I'm being mistreated because of the way I look type of situation, and the whole bully storyline that WWE loves to do over and over again to make her, to kind of give her the fan sympathy, I should say. And when she finally turns on Eva Marie, which we kind of saw on Raw, and then she reveals who her actual name is, probably they're going to garner some they're going to try to get fan support that way. So, hold on to your seats, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, Piper name she's being called Dewdrop, but I think there's a bigger story to this. Eva Marie obviously has the go away heat because of all the releases, then her coming back in the midst of all this. So I think they're going to try to use it to her advantage to put over Piper. And then we come to the tag team match, Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross versus Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. I also saw trending on Twitter that Nikki Cross has a new gimmick, which was this superhero thing. Now here is my thing, okay? Maybe I'm a very optimistic person, but this is what I'm thinking. I think that this may play into Alexa Bliss, because reason being is that if this was an actual new gimmick, more likely Nikki Cross would have changed her name. But Nikki Cross is suddenly very upbeat now, and she wants to show she kept using the word spirit. So I think this may be playing into Alexa Bliss as far as possessing people and things like that. That's my thinking. I could be completely 100% wrong on this one. But people was really upset about this, and then news came out that this was actually her idea, and then people tried to backtrack on it. And here's my feeling about it. Now, of course, you can. When I heard that she was dressed up as a superhero, I immediately thought of the Hurricane. And my thing is that when you have that type of gimmick, it's very hard to be taken seriously. I like the Hurricane, I do, but he didn't win the World Heavyweight Champion. He was I think he was cruiserweight. He was European. He was tag team. He was definitely a hardcore champion during his run in WWE, but he never won the heavyweight champion. You never seen, he was in segments with The Rock and stuff like that, but he wasn't in feuds like you would see The Rock and Triple H and Stone Cold and stuff like that. He was always in like comedic segments. And so with Nikki Cross, with her being in this gimmick, it's now like, is she now going to be the comedy character? Is she going to lose that opportunity to be taken seriously and to go after the Raw or SmackDown Women's Championship? But I don't know. When I was watching it back, I just got the feeling that maybe it's playing into Alexa Bliss or something. Like, it feels like she is very upbeat, like not really phony, but it's like it's something more to this, and that she'll eventually she'll start to like go crazy, and then she'll transform into the complete opposite. Not really a villain, but a more psychotic type of gimmick. That's what I'm thinking this may go. But kudos to her. I hope that, I feel like if this has nothing to do with Alexa Bliss, this was her idea. I feel like this is to, one, either show as dedication to the Hurricane or Molly Holly or whatever she is drawing inspiration from, or she's using this to show that she has range as far as being a gimmick or something like that. But the fact that they never changed her name is why I'm thinking this is very temporary. She got new music too, because, obviously you can't come out to the theme song that she had before, and you definitely can't come out to the crazy Nikki Cross gimmick. But yeah, I feel like there's something more to this. I'm going to see where it goes before I completely shit on it. but I feel like there's something more to this. Riddle versus Drew McIntyre was a very good match. Drew McIntyre, of course, had all the slashes on his back, the injuries to his back, I should say, from Hell in a Cell. Riddle's good in the ring. It's just his gimmick outside the ring with the bro and everything like that. It's very hard to take seriously. It really is, because all he's doing is trying to make people laugh. But this was a really good match, I have to say. Really good match. Another good match that was on there was Xavier Woods versus Bobby Lashley. It feels like Xavier Woods may be taking time off or something like that. But Xavier Woods did a pretty good job in the ring. This was a pretty good match, a pretty good way to end Raw. And I have to say, this was a good episode of Raw. As many times as it's very popular to say how much Raw sucks and stuff like that. I stopped first of all, the real reason I stopped watching Raw is that it's 3 hours. And I tend to take care of other things on Monday nights that I realize I can just do. If I catch Raw live, I'll catch it and it'll be like in the background or something. But as far as like me sitting down and like giving it my full attention for 3 hours, like it's not happening. So I tend to watch the condensed version back on Hulu. You know, sometimes I'll watch it while I'm working. Don't tell my boss. But sometimes I'll watch it when I'm doing something and I can like listen in and pay attention to it, since it's mainly like the highlights of the show. Going into a little bit of NXT, we had started out with Adam Cole and Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo Hayes was very impressive, first off, with his match against Adam Cole. I really didn't, him introducing himself was definitely John Cena. He mentioned ruthless aggression and then started to attack Adam Cole, and I was like, word life. First of all, Hayes he's really good in the ring. And I love the fact when we get these people coming in, the next wave of like quote unquote superstars coming in NXT, it definitely shows that it's a lot more promise. Once the next wave of NXT wrestlers go up to the main roster, the ones that are what's left in NXT, like it still shows promise that it can continue on. And that's what I really like about NXT. It's that, we can not see Adam Cole for a couple of weeks. We can not see Finn Balor for a couple of weeks. Shotzi for a couple I don't know about Shotzi, but Shotzi for a couple of weeks, and like it'll still be okay. Like we still have other wrestlers on the roster or on TV that can definitely continue to hold down the fort while some of the fan favorites are gone. Hayes did a beautiful springboard clothesline. He did a great sell in the Panama Sunrise. It definitely gave me the Rock vibes, because he was in a headstand and he like stayed in the headstand for like a couple of seconds before he fell over. This was a good match. Johnny Gargano, I mean, what can you not say about Johnny Gargano? Johnny Gargano is so entertaining. He was in the ring, first of all, him and Austin Theory, and they started to talk about how he started talking about Karrion Kross. He called out Karrion Kross, and out comes Pete Dunne with Oney Larkin, and Johnny Gargano called Pete Dunne Peter, and Pete Dunne, of course, took offense to Johnny calling himself number one contender, and he started cutting his promo to try to get him riled up, and he was like, nope. He said, I am not doing this. He said, I'm not doing this. I'm a new person. I am putting down the mic. And he put his hands up, and Austin Theory was still on the apron. He breaks Pete Dunne breaks Austin Theory's finger. And then there was a segment later on where he went into Regal's office because he has the enforcer. Johnny Gargano's like, look, I'm not trying to mess with you. And he brought William Regal a pencil. Like this was elementary school or something. So this segment with Johnny Gargano was just gold. We also had the tag team of Zoe and Io Shirai with the Robert Stone brand, which was Aaliyah and Jesse as well. Of course, we had Stark and Io Shirai who won the match. Afterwards we had the breakdown of Tag Team Mayhem with Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez showing up saying that they deserve a title shot. I'm like, okay, Raquel trying to be Raquel 2 belts or something. And then Amber Moon and Shotzi Blackheart came out because we had also Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell who came out as well. And then everyone started to fight each other where Candice LeRae and Indie Wrestling walks away and goes into the back. Then after that, we had Hit Row. This is my first time really seeing them, so I don't really know what to think. I mean, they're very talented. I just don't know what to think of the gimmick. You gotta give me some time having to deal with the gimmick. And then we saw this phone charging vignette. The person went from 31% to 51%. And I'm sitting here like, they need a better charger if it takes 3 weeks for them to charge whatever it is that's charging. But it did give me Chris Jericho vibes, where we see this like random countdown for some reason. We don't know where it's going or anything like that. We don't know what it's leading to. And, we'll see who is coming out. And then finally, the main event, Kushida versus Kyle O'Reilly. First of all, this match was kind of short, but Kushida and Kyle O'Reilly, they are very good in the ring, first of all. This was a pretty good match. Kyle O'Reilly had won, but of course, here comes Adam Cole, who started to fight Kyle O'Reilly. And then Kushida got attacked by Roderick Strong, and he was joined by other people as well. We saw Michael Bivens, who apparently is managing this group of people, and this is called this is the Diamond Mind that we have heard about before. So don't know what we're gonna do with these guys. We see that Roderick Strong is definitely gonna go after the NXT Cruiserweight Championship. Don't know with the other guys. I don't even know the other guys' names, truthfully, but I don't know where we're going to go as far as with them as well. But I am interested, I tell you what. I'm interested to see where this goes. But I wasn't like, popping or anything like that, or like completely shocked at the fact that we got Roderick Strong back. I was wondering what happened to him, but, I'm not like, oh my God type of situation. So finally going into SmackDown, like I had said earlier, we had the mixed tag team match, Bayley and Seth Rollins versus Cesaro and Bianca Belair, which was a pretty good match. The mixed tag team matches always gets me because, we get the, as soon as a man tags in a woman, we get the woman coming in and stuff like that. And this was okay. I missed the first 15 minutes of SmackDown, so I kind of came in at the mixed tag team match. But I don't know. I don't like it when WWE does this whole, okay, we get this match at the pay-per-view, and now we're going to have the rematch on the following Raw or SmackDown. No, like, I add a different element to the match. Not the mixed tag team, because I know that's a different element. But add something else to the feud. Like, why are we fighting again? Especially for the person who won. Bianca Belair could easily say, ma'am, I beat you. There is no point of us facing each other again. Then we get to the segment with Shinsuke Nakamura, who is definitely trying to go for not only did he win the crown from Baron Corbin, but he is trying to take the crown from Seth Rollins as far as drip champion. Because Shinsuke came out in all white, which I was like, ooh. But I don't get the whole situation with this crown. I don't know what we're doing here. What is the meaning of this? This isn't a championship title, where we see Seth Rollins immediately goes to Sonya Deville and Adam Pearce and asks for a shot at the Universal Championship, which I'm sitting here like, whoa. Seth Rollins versus the Tribal Chief. That will be a very interesting type of feud that I would like to see how that goes down. But I don't know what we're doing here with Shinsuke Nakamura. Like, yes, he got the crown. Like, soon when I saw him with the crown, it kind of gave me vibes of one of his entrances at Wrestle Kingdom, which I would say, I think it's Wrestle Kingdom 10, where he had the crown and the cape and he had the strippers on the pole and stuff. Like, no lie, go and Google it and check it out. Like, it was crazy. But I don't get what we're doing here. I really don't. After that, we had Liv Morgan versus Carmella. We're now getting into Money in the Bank, so we're having all these qualifying matches to see who is getting a spot in the Money in the Bank. Carmella got handed a spot. Everyone else was getting matches. Carmella apparently got handed a spot, which I didn't really get. If we're going to have other people, wrestling for spots. But, we get to see Liv Morgan on TV again. She's getting another win. Trying to get a win streak here. And she survived another round of releases. So, kudos to her. We also had Apollo Crews and Big E as well in a Money in the Bank qualifying match. But of course, the big story is the Tribal Chief, and who apparently is no longer has a right hand man. He is trying to get Jimmy Uso now to be the right hand man, and the way this is all playing out is just like so good. Because, Jimmy's like, he's willing to do this for the family, and he wants to acknowledge, Roman Reigns as the Tribal Chief. So now he is the right-hand man. And it's like they're using the same tactics on him that they did with his brother. And it definitely works. I'm still hoping for the Uso versus Uso feud. I cannot wait to see that match. I kind of see how we're setting this up, because we're going to have Jimmy as the right-hand man in the main event. And then eventually when Jay comes back, then it's going to be like, well, Jay's going to like, I'm the right-hand man. And it's going to be like, no, I'm the right-hand man. It's like, I'm his girlfriend. No, I'm his girlfriend. I've been his girlfriend for such and such amount of years. And we're kind of getting something like that. But I'm all here for it. I am. And then we get to the end of SmackDown, where we have Roman Reigns, who comes out with the state of address, basically. He mentioned how there is no one else to face him. He done defeated everyone and anyone. And I'm like, you are definitely right, sir. And I was expecting for someone to come out. But you see Paul Heyman also started talking as well. And next thing you know, at this point, what I was doing, I was washing, I just finished washing my daughter's hair, and I'm standing in the bathroom, cleaning up, and I'm listening to what Roman Reigns says, and next thing I know, I hear, "You think you know me?" And I'm like, what? definitely popped for it. And I was like, what? And then I started singing his theme music, of course, because that's what you do when you hear Edge's theme music. You have to sing it. I tried not to sing at the top of my lungs, but I couldn't help it. Luckily, it's 10 o'clock at night. My neighbor isn't that close to me. And then, the other side of my house, the neighbor had recently moved out. Not because I was singing, Edge theme really loud, but it might not have helped either. But yeah, we get Edge coming back, which is like, whoa, definitely interesting. Edge is coming back to try to get his win back. And he is probably hoping that we're not going to see Daniel Bryan, because we all know if Daniel Bryan's around, then it's probably a triple threat match. So I am very interested with Edge versus Roman Reigns. We're going to get the whole, disrespecting. You disrespect Roman Reigns, you disrespect the family, and if you disrespect the family, don't know what to tell you, son. But my goodness, the storytelling with the tribal chief and the storytelling now that we're getting with Edge, it's like chef's kiss. Between all that has happened this week, this was a really good week in wrestling. With Raw, we had a good episode of Raw. With NXT, with SmackDown here. We got AEW Dynamite coming on Saturday. I keep forgetting that it's not coming on Wednesdays. I start to look for it on Wednesdays, and I keep forgetting that we have the NBA playoffs. And yes, my Philadelphia 76ers is out of the playoffs. We have all jumped off the bandwagon. Half the city want Ben Simmons' head on a stick. And, it is what it is. But until next time, we got baseball season going on. I am a Phillies fan. I love going to the baseball games. And I'm going to try to go sometime this season. Who knows? I don't watch hockey, so I can't claim the Flyers. But yeah, and we got football season coming in a couple of months, which I cannot wait. But yeah, the with Dynamite, first of all, this I didn't catch it when it came on. I think it was on Friday. But I did see the segment with the MMA match, and I don't know. I applaud AEW for doing something different, but when you decide you want to do an MMA match, you got to make it a little more convincing. You got to put a little bit more into the punches and the elbows. Like, make it look like you're actually having an MMA match, not two wrestlers having an MMA match. But we have Jungle Boy going against Kenny Omega coming up as well. And I think I forgot who is trying to face Miro. I definitely forgot who it was. But yeah, we'll catch it when it comes out on Saturday. That's it, though, for the WrestleBread podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Let me give a few shout-outs. Shout out to Julian and Rob Bass from Wrestling Court Podcast and AlternativeMinds.com. Keita and Jay from the Keita and Jay Show. Chris and Keita from We Talk Next Podcast, which is featured on the Keita and Jay Show. Nando and Larry from Half K Podcast. Devin and Hafiz from Clark Street Wrestling. And then special shout out this week to Top Rope Wrestling Talk Podcast. They celebrating their 100th episode. So congratulations to them. 100 episodes is a very big accomplishment to make. We had made it here at this podcast a couple of weeks ago. And congratulations to 100. And see you at the 200 level. So coming next week, we're going to continue talking about the recap of Raw and NXT. Dynamite, I think, is going to be on the regular time next week, but we'll be talking about what happened on Saturday. Be on the lookout for the special episode where I will be doing a review of the best matches from the Great American Bash pay-per-view events from before. And it's going to be, I'm including WWE, I'm including WCW, and I think NWA is where it originated. So I will be reviewing, matches from basically any event that was named Great American Bash. And so be on the lookout for that. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at JayDeeC137. That's JAYDEE, the letter C, 137. You can also follow the podcast on Twitter at WrestleBread. You can also find the podcast on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. You can also find the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find all the links on Linktree. That's linktr.ee/WrestleBread. So be on the lookout for the special episode. And then coming with the predictions for the Great American Bash coming the following Tuesday as well. Thank you so much for listening, and let me know your review of Hell in a Cell. Let me know your predictions for Great American Bash when that is coming around. And until next time, guys, peace.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. Check us out at WrestleBread.com and subscribe to WrestleBread on YouTube for more breaking news and JD's opinions.